How's everyone doing? Oh, you alright? Cody there, back again. Today's video is going to be on cell fires, right? Obviously talking within prisons and stuff. Now, I've witnessed a cell fire, and it's quite scary, to be honest. Um, the way that prisons are built these days is so that they don't spread, but prisoners are resourceful and stuff. Like, if a prisoner's not got like a lighter or strike, which is like a match, in his cell, they can set fires in other ways. Like, they get in a prison razor, there's two like metal strands, right? And what they do, they turn the plug socket off. They put the metal, the metal razor like thing, the blade, right? They put one into the plug socket in one bit. They put the other one in the other bit, and then with a plastic spoon and prison shower gel, yeah, it sparks and you can light. As mad as that might sound, you can get electrocuted and stuff and everything else. But that's how people, that's how resourceful prisoners are. Right, I was a cleaner on my last stretch. For those that don't know, I've just got out of prison like 4 weeks ago, right? And while I was in prison, I was a cleaner on my last stretch on the induction wing at Forest Bank Prison, which is a Cat B prison in Salford, near Manchester. Yeah, so like being a cleaner and stuff, you're out, you sell a lot and stuff, and you see what goes on. We was banged up. We was asked to be banged up because the screws asked us to go behind our doors because there was an incident, right? Someone was kicking off behind the door, so they was going to twist him up, right? So we was behind our doors, right? And then there was a commotion and stuff and blah blah blah, and then the cleaners got out, right? And then there was a guy that was kicking the fuck out of his door, and I've gone to the door, me. I said to him, I opened his flap, yeah. I was like, oh, I said, what's going on with you? And he said, listen, he was a Welsh kid, yeah. We don't do names on this channel, but he's a Welsh kid, and he was doing quite a big stretch. I can't remember what it was for, but I think he was doing about 10 years, right? And in this, while we was behind our doors, he'd been filled in by the screws. He'd been knocked out by a screw, and so he was fuming. He was behind his door. He was fuming, right? And then, so I said, listen. He said, reset my buzzer. So I reset it because there's a button on the outside. So I reset that, and then I fucked off. And then I went back later on. I was mopping up, picking some shit up off the floor, and he was like beckoning me over to his glass panel in his door in his cell. So he said. So he was going on. He said, "Here, mate." He said, "Listen." He said, I'm not happy, me, mate." He said, "He knocked me out, he did." Right? So he was fuming, right? And he sat on his bed, and then he was ripping all these letters up and pictures and newspapers and stuff like that. And then I thought, what are you doing? He said, I'm going to set a cell fire, mate. He said, fuck this. He said, I've never been treated like this. So I was proper going mad, yeah, proper crazy behind his door, which I would be as well. He'd just been fucking knocked out by fucking screws, mate. So he's going to be fuming, innit? Right. So anyway, after about 20 minutes, right, I go back past his cell, I look through the door, and he's still sat there, like ripping these letters up, ripping his personal letters up, his personal photographs that had been sent in to him. He had newspapers and stuff that he literally was shredding them into tiny, tiny pieces. Just like chunk-sized pieces, right? And his bed was just covered in fucking, in paper and pictures and newspapers and everything. And then he said, oh, you just inside, mate. He said, watch this, right? So I'll stop doing the Welsh accent now. So what he did, he went to his cell wall where the plug socket was. He turned the socket off. He put the razor blade in one, put the razor blade in another, got a prison plastic spoon, put the prison shower gel on there, and then, and you do what you do, and it ignites. It causes a spark so that you can get a flame, right? He got a piece of paper. He got so he lit the piece of paper. He closed his windows, right, and he opened his windows, sorry, to let the air in, because obviously the fire triangle, you need air. So he just lit his bed alight, and it went up fast. Now he's locked behind his doors. Now what happens, right, within prison is they don't let you out. If you think because you let you set your cell on fire that the screws run down with a set of keys and let you out, no, because that would the fire would spread, wouldn't it? So what they did, so he's lit the fire. Another lad came to join me, right? The screws are not about on the wing. They was all in their office doing like admin and stuff. There was 2 screws in the office, right? So the fire's lit and the smoke that was billowing off it, black, thick smoke, like the ink and the paper burning and stuff like that. I was like, wow, what the fuck, man? So, but normally, right, like within the cell above your toilet, there's like a hatch with little holes in it and stuff, and that detects fire. It's like a smoke alarm, right? Now it didn't go off, right? So this has all happened within the space of like about a minute. So he's lit the cell fire, right? The smoke's going up, right? So I said to him, I said, listen, so I said, get yourself on the floor and get your mouth and your nose as close to the bottom of the door as you can, because obviously the oxygen coming in and stuff. So me and this lad have ran down to the office, right? To the office where the screws are, and I said, yeah, like I said, I won't mention the name of the screw, but I said, there's to the name. I said, look, there's a fucking cell fire, and they looked at me, and they thought I was pulling the leg a little bit because the alarm had not gone off. Now this alarm, the fire alarm within this ventilation system, is normally very temperamental. They go off quite easy, but this one hadn't. And then, so the screws have come running down. I said, look, I'm not fucking about. I said, I'm being serious. Like, the kid's life's in the balance here. So the screws come running out. They've run up to the door, and they're like, right. And what within the cell door, there's like it looks like it's about this big, right? And it's like it's metal construction, and the screw can put a key in, and it turns, and it uncorks so that they can stick a hose pipe in. Right, because they have a thing called Instamist, right? On each wing, you've got a fire hose, and you've got a thing called Instamist. Instamist is it's like a little, you can drag it along, and then like it's like a big vacuum cleaner thing, but it's not a vacuum. It actually sprays mist in so that it covers the fire, right? So sort of like a fire extinguisher, but like a mobile one, right? So first things first, right? They couldn't, so they drag this Instamist machine out, right? The Instamist, they go to plug the Instamist machine in. The third prong on the plug, right? As you know, on a plug, you've got one prong, another prong, and another prong, right? Well, the prong snapped off. Seriously, it was hanging off. It snapped off, right? So the Instamist was out of action straight away. So then from there, right? Then they've gone to get the key, to put the key into the cell, not into the cell door, but into this little copper thing that unfurls, and then they can stick a hose pipe through it because there's a fire hose on the fucking, there's like a fire hose, right? Because it had not been greased up by maintenance, it wouldn't open, right? So you've got a cell, remember all the time that this is going on, there's someone like not being able to breathe in a cell, right? They've caused the cell fire, and people might say, well, it's self-inflicted and everything else, right? But the fact is, his cell was on fire, right? Now, so he's lay on the floor. You can't see in the fucking pad. The pad's just covered in smoke. You can't see in through the glass. There's that much smoke, and it's starting to blacken up and stuff, right? So so the prongs fucking snapped off the Instamist, right? Off the Instamist machine. The little circle hatch that they open with a key so they can fucking squirt water in if there is a cell fire. In the event of a fire, it won't open because it's not been greased up. It was stuck solid, right? So they was limited in what they could do. They don't open the door. That's not because the fire will spread and come out and stuff like that. So they go and get the fire hose. There's 2 screws doing this, right? Then the fire alarm starts going off, right? Then what happens? The roof is made, there's glass construction like glass panels. They open up, right? To let any smoke out. So that's going off. The fire alarm's going off. People are banging on the cell doors because they can hear that there's obviously a cell fire going on, right? It's proper mayhem, right? Me and this other cleaner were there. the screws, because this little circle thing where they stick the hose through was broke, and the Instamis was broke. They've got to resort to, they've got the hose pipe out, but because they can't get it in the hatch so that they can like put it through and then aim up and down and get the fire, there was nowhere to go. So do you know what they had to do? They had to get the end of the hose thing and just spray it through the bottom of the door. But the fire was on the bed, which is suspended. So the water, in layman's terms, it wasn't doing fuck all. There was more water over the landing than there was in his cell. Eventually, because the screws had pressed the panic button and stuff, all these other screws come running in with like firefighting, like masks and stuff and apparatus and stuff. The fire service turned up. The cleaners were put behind our door, and because of the heat within the fire within this cell, the prison officers actually came. The firefighters came to fight the fire, but while this was going on, what they did was the screws came and unlocked us and told us all to get down onto the yard, which was the fire, like the fire assembly point. So yeah, so it was like this fucking hell, like it was proper crazy. Like I'd never seen anything like it. The guy was pulled from there because all the time that the smoke was filling the cell and everything, and there was no water getting, there was no fight, there was nothing attacking the fire. So the fire was blazing, right? And smoke, like proper smoke, everything, right? And he's on the floor, right? And he's not breathing. He can't breathe. And like I say, thank fuck he survived. But it's just one of them things. Like as a result, after that, he got a nicking, right? Because if you set a cell fire in prison, you get done for arson with intent, right? Arson with intent to endanger life. Now, what they normally do, there's two ways they can do it, right? It depends. They can charge you. You get a nicking. So a nicking means you go before like the governor, right? And then you have to put your case forward. But it's called a nicking, and obviously you're going to get extra time for that because he set his cell on fire. He's charged with trying to arson with intent to endanger the life of everyone within that block. Sometimes they do it as the whole prison, but the top part of the prison, which is just two wings, G and H, and then the bottom part of the jail is completely separate. So anyway, he got charged with like, I think it was about 200, 300 like attempts, like intent to endanger life, because he set this cell fire and stuff, and that was it. He was down the seg and everything else, and yeah, and we never saw him again. We had to clean up the aftermaths of the fire and stuff, like all the burnt fucking things, and the bedding and the bed and the mattress and the fucking, there was all black up the wall. So we had to, all the water was on the floor, it was manky. We had to use this water suction thing to try and get the water up, and then we was like, but within about an hour, 2 hours, we got it back to as it should be. And then the next day, the cleaner went in, the wing painter went in and painted the cell. And then I think the following day, someone was back in that cell. So a new person came in and was housed in that cell and never knew what went on there. It was fucking crazy. Like, for my advice, if you go to prison, for those that have never been to prison, if you're gonna go to prison or you end up in prison, never set a cell fire, for fuck's sake. You could die. You could get charged with intent. If you go in on a small fucking, like doing a couple of months sentence, right, and you set a cell fire, you can end up doing years. Because like I say, arson with intent to endanger life is a very, very serious charge. Plus, as well, if that lad would have stayed on our wing, he would have got a kick in, because like the cleaners, if that fire would have spread, I mean, the way that prisons are developed now and designed is so that the fire stays contained within the cell. That's why they don't open the doors and stuff. And obviously the way that the walls are built is like fire resistant and stuff like that in these new prisons and stuff. But like I say, it was still a hell of an experience and stuff. Definitely, like I say, when you do your induction, when you first go to prison, you do an induction and you sit in a room and there's like a computer thing up on the thing, and it shows you like, don't do this, don't do that, don't set cell fires, blah blah blah. And normally you get the fire service come in as well and do a speech, because cell fires, people do them for many different reasons, to get attention, to try and get a prison move. If they want to get moved to another prison, they'll set a fire. This lad had been filled in, that's why he set his fire. And it's a sad state of affairs, but it does go on. And like I say, having been involved in one, even though I wasn't in the cell, I was involved in the fact that the fire alarm didn't go off, the plug on the Instamist broke, the metal cork within the door that's supposed to come out so you can put a fucking fire hose in, right, had seized up because it had not been lubricated and stuff. So like I say, it was a whole, do you know what? If that, thank God he pulled through, but if that prisoner would have died as a result, right, Sodexo Justice Services, who run the prison, would have been in the world of shit. Because I, for one, I weren't a screw boy, but simple fact is I'm for prisoners, me. Now, I would have spoke out, even though I got on with the screws involved. The fact that the plug broke off the Instamist, the cork off the door couldn't get open, and then they was resorting to spraying water on the floor. There was more water on the landing than there was under his door. And like I say, when you've got a fire that's suspended on a bed, spraying water at a floor, the gap for the door was probably that big, right? And it was the hose just wouldn't go through, so you're just spraying it at the floor, really. And like I say, if he would have died, then it would have caused, I would have been up in arms about it, me, because like I say, it was a long drawn out process. Oh, and the fire alarm didn't go off as well till about 5 minutes after. So like I say, a whole host of fuck ups where someone's life was in the balance and stuff. Right, he set the fire himself, but no one deserves to die in prison, you know what I mean? So anyway, guys, listen, that's just a short insight into my experience of a cell fire within prisons. Don't start them, it's not worth it. Like, subscribe, follow, comment, all them good stuff. All right, guys, speak to you soon. Bye.